The most painful thing isn't failure. It's looking at a life that technically works and realizing you don't feel inside. There's work, some money, people around, no obvious disaster, but some quiet part of you keeps asking, why does this look like my life but feel like someone else's? If you know that feeling, that's what I mean. Not a big dramatic collapse, something stranger. Everything more or less work, but you feel like you never signed this contract. And on the latter comes the scarier thought. Maybe you spent years walking someone else's map of a normal life. You did reasonable things, you listened to adult voices, you tried to be responsible, you tried not to waste your life on things nobody around you took seriously. And then one day you look around and the people who didn't betray their nonsense are still alive inside it. Someone kept playing, someone kept making music, someone went into games, stories, stages, weird projects, stupid ideas. And you are not just jealous, you start asking a worse question. What if I didn't take one wrong turn? What if I believed the wrong people too early? That's what I want to understand here. Not how to become successful, not how to start over. How a person can listen to so many reasonable voices that his own life slowly starts feeling rented. The older I get, the less I believe that happy or successful people have one secret recipe. But sometimes when you ask how they got somewhere real, the answer sounds almost stupid. I just did what I loved, even when people told me it was nonsense. That sentence hit me in a very unpleasant place. It sounds too simple to be true and too painful to be complete bullshit. I started combing through my hair of my past, looking for the lies that had been chewing through my beginnings. And those lies weren't evil monsters, they had normal adult voices. Find a job, go study, stop doing nonsense. Computer games are bad, night parties are bad, reading science fiction is stupid. Good grades are right, don't stick your head out, get a normal profession, do something people can understand. If you can't explain it to your relatives at the family table, it's already suspicious. And when you're a kid, you don't understand that your inner compass is being replaced. Nobody tells you don't trust yourself. They say, this isn't serious, and you are not broken. You just slowly start feeling ashamed of the things you actually like. You don't just stop doing those things, you start hiding the joy you get from them, like someone caught you doing something shameful. Then years pass and I look around. One classmate is a professional e-sport player, another is a well-known DJ, another writes stories for top games. All the things once called nonsense became real life, work, stages, tournaments, money, travel, meaning. And the excellent students got married long ago and quietly started raising children. Maybe they're fine, I'm not judging that life, but the irony is fucked up. The people who did the wrong things often stayed alive inside them, and the people who did everything correctly somehow disappeared inside correctness. I went deeper into memory trying to find the moment when everything went wrong. I wanted one scene, one day, one sentence where I could say, here, this is the wrong turn. But life doesn't usually break that cleanly. Most of the time it just changes direction while you keep telling yourself everything is normal. I try to remember when I learned not to stick my head out, to drift with the currents next to some stinking neighbor who didn't give a fuck about anyone's advice. And maybe that neighbor was more honest than me, because at least he didn't give a fuck. I was pretending I was choosing, pretending I had a plan, pretending I understood life. And I drifted. Through someone I knew, I got into the film industry. For a while, I enjoyed the money. I enjoyed feeling like I was inside something real, something big, something adult. On a film set, everything looks serious. Cameras, lights, radios, lenses, tripods. You get tired, but you feel like you are tired for a reason. It's a drug when you're in your 20s, and you confuse movement around you with the movement inside your own life. Then the crisis hit. The money stopped being attractive, and then came the nasty question. Where do you go if the only thing you know well is carrying a tripod and changing lenses? It's one thing to tell yourself, I'm here just for now. It's another when years pass and just for now becomes your identity. You become useful in someone else's process. I think that was when I gave up and thought, fuck it. I didn't even dream anymore. No plan, no secret big project, no map. I just lived. And from the outside it could look normal. Work, some money, people around, but inside I didn't feel like I was building a life. I felt like life was carrying me somewhere and I was trying not to cause too much trouble. The strange thing is that a life like that can even be comfortable. A salary, a routine, normal answers to normal questions. That's why it feels shameful to complain. From the outside, you almost don't have the right to feel empty. I had a sudden marriage that seemed to come out of nowhere, as if nobody even knows whose idea it was. After that, a child appeared, and back then I couldn't understand why anyone even needed that. I know how hard that sounds. I'm not saying the child wasn't needed as a person, I'm talking about me back then. So my life didn't crack, it didn't fall apart in some dramatic way, it just slid by inertia into a dark hole, with no idea what tomorrow was supposed to be. And the worst thing about this inertia is that it can look like a normal life. You go to work, you come home, you solve boring problems. From the outside, everything is more or less fine. You are not falling apart, you are functioning, but inside you keep waiting for someone to walk and say, okay, stop, this isn't your life. The exit is here. And all of this was happening while one classmate had already become a known DJ and another one had started winning tournaments. I don't want to turn this into a story about envy. Of course there was envy. But it wasn't just envy of money or nice photos. It was envy that maybe they didn't betray the part of themselves I betrayed too early. They kept doing their nonsense. I decided to become normal. And normal slowly started to smell like inner death. When the boiling point came, the marriage ended and everything started moving in another direction, a braver direction. After 9 years I left film. I tried to become a creator, I made a few music videos, somehow I even made a feature film. From the outside it sounds like the right turn, a person wakes up, leaves the system, starts creating, finds himself. But from the inside it was messier, fear, chaos and a lot of trying to prove I hadn't become just a guy carrying tripods for other people's ideas. Then I found a beautiful relationship that is still with me today. At some point I thought this is it. Finally I'm on the right rails. Now everything will be different. Now I'll make my own things. Now I'm not drifting anymore. Now it's time to collect the stars. This is the point where the inspirational version of the story usually begins. A person wakes up, understands everything, chooses himself and the life finally starts moving. But real life is more annoying than that. 10 more years passed and I got stuck again. I won't list everything I tried. The list would be long. The meaning would be the same. I was always trying to find direction. New projects, roles, ideas, country, language. Sometimes it was interesting, sometimes there was money, sometimes it felt like progress. But just a little more and I'll understand kept moving away. And now I sit here thinking, where did I take the wrong turn? Except now I'm not sitting in a Soviet apartment block anymore. I'm sitting in Canada. A million things happened, the place changed, the people around me changed. From the outside, life became completely different, but the question inside stayed the same, where do I go? And this is where the older fear appears. What if I'm not just lost right now? What if I've been lost for so long that I already built a whole life around it? What if I didn't waste years on one mistake, but on a life I never really entered from the inside? That's the nasty part. When you're young, you think the problem is outside. The country, the family, the money, the job. And yeah, some of that is true. But then you can change the country, the relationship, the work, almost everything around you and discover that the main question moved with you. It sits in your suitcase, arrives in Canada, unpacks itself, sits next to you and says, so, where now? While one classmate is still playing games and another one owns a label somewhere in an American city, I keep trying to understand what I missed. And maybe the problem isn't that I didn't try hard enough, not that I wasn't disciplined enough, not that I picked the wrong job, the wrong city, the wrong project. Maybe the problem is that I spent too many years trying to live correctly, because correct is very easy to confuse with mine. Correct looks calm, correct is easy to explain. Correct doesn't annoy your relatives. Correct doesn't force you to admit that you want something strange, stupid, not practical, maybe even embarrassing. But correct doesn't always lead you to where you're alive. Sometimes it only leads you to where other people can understand you more easily. And this is where I start thinking, what if I was supposed to be less obedient? What if I was supposed to listen to myself more, not less? What if from the very beginning I was supposed to take seriously to things that gave me pleasure, even when someone said they were nonsense? Not because every pleasure becomes success, not because games, parties, fantasy books or music are guaranteed to become a career, but because sometimes these things hide not a career but a direction, your way of feeling life. Your way of being yourself before someone explained which version of you would be safer. If this touched something you, write one thing in the comments below. What did you learn to call nonsense too early? And I don't want to turn this into a nice line about starting over. Starting over sounds clean only in titles. In real life, it often means admitting that a lot of what you built was built to be acceptable, not alive. Maybe the point isn't the perfect job, country, relationship, or plan. Maybe it's something more uncomfortable. Not betraying what's alive in you just because it looks stupid from the outside. Not finally becoming the correct person. Not asking someone else's life for permission to live your own. They won't live it the way you would. They can give advice, laugh, call it nonsense, and be sure they know what's better for you. But they won't wake up inside your head. They won't live with your emptiness. They won't sit 20 years later in another country and wonder why everything changed but direction is still missing. And maybe I didn't take one wrong turn in one specific place. Maybe I just spent too long walking toward the place I was taught to look at. And now that I see it, I don't have a beautiful conclusion. I don't have a victory line. I don't have a sentence that makes everything clear. I only have one unpleasant, honest thought. If I still want to live my own life, I've got to stop treating my own interests like nonsense. Not because it'll save me, not because it'll turn me into the people I compare myself to, but because if I keep calling it nonsense, I'll keep building a life that looks acceptable from the outside and empty from the inside. Mine on paper, someone else's on the inside. If you're trying to find your own life again after years of being reasonable, subscribe. That's the kind of question I want to keep following on this channel. Thank you for being here with me today. I hope this made you feel a little less alone. Be gentle with yourself. I'll see you in the next one.